Hello and welcome to Rotted Review of the Day, and today I tackle the fifth and final entry into the Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise, Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, The Toymaker, made in 1991. Now, after watching the first four movies, at this point I was pretty despondent. I just wanted it to be over, and I had I had no hope that this movie would turn out to be any good. And what I will say is that I was right. However, it still was better than Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, and I would say probably 3 as well. But it was still a lot worse than good. And to get into more details of this, let's get into the categories. As always, 4 different categories, each one worth up to 25 points for a total possible score of 100 points. And the score of the plot, I gave a 6 out of 25. This was still bad. Like, real bad. But at the very least, it was Christmassy, and it was halfway well-paced. It was halfway coherent. This followed the story of young boy Derek as he receives a mysterious Christmas present on his doorstep, and his father is the one who opens it and gets murdered by the toy inside in front of Derek's eyeballs. And the movie just takes off from there. It fast forwards a little bit in time as Derek has his relationship with his mother during the grieving process. At this point, Derek has become nonverbal, and his mother has done a very poor job of understanding this as she spends the rest of the movie constantly asking him questions and getting frustrated by no response. Regardless, they come across the toy shop and the toy maker inside, played by Mickey Rooney as Joe Petto. And his young assistant of Pino, the killer toy thing continues to happen. Mysterious packages continue to arrive, and finally a showdown happens with what is going on and who is perpetrating it from there. This really was. I would say the best thing I could say about it is that it was fairly unremarkable. But in reality, it just wasn't very good at all. But even so, like I said, it was Christmassy, and I'm going to give it points for that just because I really felt cheated by the fourth movie in that, aside from being set during Christmas time, had nothing at all to do with Christmas. And it's not like this was just a throwaway. This was a Silent Night, Deadly Night movie. It's supposed to be Christmassy, darn it. And this one was, so hats off on that one. The Intent, I gave a 3 out of 25. There was a little bit of fun to be had here, but that's about it. The kills and the tone were juvenile at best, not very interesting, not very brutal, not very, worth watching at any rate. And even the moderate level of fun that it had was kind of offset by some real creepiness, like unintended creepiness, especially towards the end there. That it was just very uncomfortable, but I really get the sense not in a purposeful way, and not like a, Antichrist, Salo kind of uncomfortable way, but just, ugh. The acting I gave a 5 out of 25, and I want to address something here. Real quick here. First of all, the acting in this was pretty poor, all told. But Mickey Rooney in particular, he hammed it up. He played it very Mickey Rooney. The only thing I really want to address as far as he goes is some people have mentioned the hypocrisy that he has shown by appearing in this movie. And I, for one, didn't see it. He was one of the ones that wrote in and protested the first movie. Shame on you for having a killer Santa Claus, and now here he is appearing in the fifth movie. However, it's in all likelihood that this was never made to be a Silent Night, Deadly Night movie. This was made to be a standalone film that got shoehorned into the franchise when it was picked up for distribution. And when he made it, he did not know that it would be an entry into the franchise that he so previously protested. And that was my first thought on the hypocrisy. I had read that, I was watching this, and I was pretty, I was willing to give him a pass. As, I love Mickey Rooney, and I, give him a pass on this one. Until I saw at one point he was dressed in a Santa suit. At that point, my hypocrisy bells did start ringing, and I do want to talk about that. The reason that he protested the first one, face value from what he wrote, was because you should not have a horror movie with Santa Claus in it. He had to have known what kind of movie this was, even if he didn't know that it was a Silent Night, Deadly Night movie. And he's not only appearing alongside Santa, he is wearing the suit. Now we have something to complain about here. And, maybe it's a situation where in 7 years' time, somebody changes and changes their mind and the times change along with them. I don't know, but it just seemed out of place given the history that he has had with the franchise that he would appear in the fifth one wearing a Santa suit. That was, I think, the point that got me. I think it's at least just worth mentioning there. I'd be interested to hear what you have to say about it. If you have opinions, please leave the comments below here. The technical, I gave a 5 out of 25. The makeup and blood effects were all right. Camera, sound, editing, and so forth were better than number 4, but still just kind of eh. The body effects towards the end were pretty laughable, honestly, and one of the things that led to the uncomfortable nature that I had in watching it. Gives us a total score of 19 out of 100 points here. And as we put a bow on this franchise, really, I think the thing that I want everybody to take away from this is, in my opinion, watch the first movie and then stop. Don't ever watch any of the others because they're absolutely not worth it. They are miserable wastes of time. This one included. This absolutely does not have my seal of recommendation on it. It was... the fact that it was better than the third and fourth movie only speaks to how far it had to hop over so low of a bar, but that doesn't make it a good movie. It doesn't make it one I would recommend. This is still worth passing. So yeah, watch the first movie. I think it was an interesting entry into the horror world. It was actually certainly an interesting aspect to historical bullet points of the world of cinematic horror. The fact that it was protested so much, even though I really don't entirely get that. I mean, I understand that horror was different back then. The societal perception of horror was different back then. Societal proclivities and sensitivities were different back then. But at the same time, I really just have to say that if you were to put a Venn diagram of people that would enjoy watching a killer Santa and the people that have the emotional and psychological maturity to truly believe in Santa Claus, and yes, I'm talking about youngins here, nothing against them for it, but if you were to take those two groups in a Venn diagram, those circles should not meet, period. If you still have the emotional and psychological and mental wherewithal to truly believe in Santa Claus, you should not have the mental and psychological wherewithal to be watching a movie about killer Santa Claus. You haven't reached the level of mental gymnastics to understand fiction and fiction and fiction and fiction. But that's just my opinion on it. I, again, welcome your opinion on it if you want to leave comments below. That should about do it. I'm putting a bow on the Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise. I'm never watching them again. I'm glad I reviewed them and got them out of the way. Thank you for joining me on this wild, wild ride. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as we continue the advent calendar of horror movie awesomeness, and hopefully we will have some awesomeness to be had. In the meantime, if you like these videos, I welcome you to click like and subscribe, and next time you want to watch a horror movie, first make sure that it's good and rotted.